What's up, everybody? I'm BMX, aka Brand. Tonight's episode 46 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris and Deon, the Steven. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing
What's good,
good.
bruh?
Doing well, can't complain. We have a lot to get into tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Crunchyroll's two stories. One talking about soul leveling and why they've made soul leveling and why they wanted to bring this for fans and everything like that. Then we have another Crunchyroll story that's basically talking about what Crunchyroll want to do next. And Crunchyroll really don't know what they want to do next. It seems like they want to um they want to start getting more they want to start getting more services or more anime or buy more companies. We'll get into that story. Also, we're going to go through the anime awards from this past weekend. We're going to talk about some of the winners of that, and then we're going to go through the charts and then go through our two episodes tonight. Episode 20 of Matching Muscles, which we're all looking forward to. We're going to see how this ended up, and episode 8 of Soul Leveling. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with the anime awards. These anime awards happened a couple weeks ago or a week ago now. Basically, the winners and losers, the winners from this past anime awards were really interesting because um, I'm not really big into award shows normally. I'm not one to watch the Oscars, any of that kind of stuff. I'm not that huge a fan of that kind of stuff. But I think the anime awards are always weird because they're hosted by Crunchyroll. They're pretty much done by Crunchyroll, which is the other weird thing. And so they're kind of top picks for fans, things that people really enjoyed. So that's kind of the way they do it. So I'll start off with this question, and I'll start off with Chris for this. What was your biggest takeaway from Otaku News Insider showing you the winners and losers? What was your biggest takeaway from the couple winner and losers that you see in that list?
The fact that we had so freaking many repeats. Like out of all the animes that we saw a lot of the same animes. Like, bruh, a lot of the people, what are y'all really watching out there? Like, come on. Like, were y'all really thinking about this stuff when y'all voted? Or were you thinking, oh my god, that's my favorite show? Come on. Like, did you have any common sense in that? I don't know.
So I'll bring this up. It isn't fan voted. There is a panel of judges, and I think there are other people in within the industry as well. So this isn't fan voted by no means. If I'm correct from last year, because Xavier Woods, or as most people know him as Austin Creed, who does a YouTube channel, he was on last year's show. Was it one of the hosts? A couple of the people I know from like the cosplay world and anime world were on there. So it it's more of a panel of judges. But yeah, I agree with Chris. There's a lot of repeats in here. There's a lot of stuff that we already knew about. I kind of think that's kind of bad, but ultimately that's the same with the Oscars and other things. Dion, what do you think about the anime awards? What's your kind of big takeaway from these winners? If you have a big takeaway from the winners,
Can you guys hear me all right?
you're
You
kind of
sound like
low.
you really, really extra far away.
How about now?
You're good.
Here you go.
All right. Sorry, guys. Had technical difficulties. Other than
No,
that, but
Time to switch from AT&T.
I can't get any correct service out here. we looking at the charts, man. It leaves me wondering what's the criteria to even get nominated,
that's the other thing.
because I
Mm.
mean, let's be real. Looking at it, there was no real surprises. Like it wasn't like any shockers, or it's like, oh, really that one? Like normally when you hear something like, you expect a Kanye moment at these awards. You
Yeah.
always expect a Kanye moment. But with these, it was just kind of like they did what they were expected to do. So it was
Mm, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of scrolling through these now. Spy and the Family won two things. Anna won most protected of all at all costs and
Which
award,
was something that they made up for their.
which I thought was kind of funny. Why'd you make that up? Season Spy and the Family season one, core two won the best comedy, which season one, part two, it is a comedy technically. I I can get it. Like Attack on Titan won a bunch of stuff. Demon Slayer won a bunch of things. There was but there's nothing out of the like Chris said, like Deon said, there's nothing that's a dark horse or sleeper. It feels
It's like they took whatever they thought people would want and just did it. Like Attack on
Yeah.
Titan winning best score. Of course, who doesn't like the
Score.
Attack on Titan score? Like,
I mean, it is literally the most epic sounding. I mean, I
it's
can put a Korean chant behind anything and make it sound epic.
and if we're being realistic, it's the only bigger anime that's not like a Korean pop song or something, or a
Correct.
rock song.
Correct.
It's
Exactly.
so we expect it to get the score. Just like Demon Slayer, everybody loves its art style, so we expect it to get best art style.
And here's
Like,
here's the thing with that. Demon Slayer won best animation for their season 3. By the way, did people forget season 3 had the most action, I think, in all the seasons? And yet not the most action, but it had a lot of action. And the back
Well, no,
half of that,
wait a minute. I just remind me, whatever happened to Hell's Paradise? That was freaking epic.
ding, 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 ding. That's the one I'm thinking of.
it's not talked about as much as Demon Slayer.
Correct.
But I don't care. It was beautiful. I mean, come
But
on. They literally had a scene of flowers.
That's what I mean by they just take what they hear, what people are saying, and was like, oh, they're mentioning Demon Slayer's art style. Let's make this happen. It's like.
See,
And I'm gonna ask you, gentlemen, both this because one, do y'all watch any other? Do either one of y'all watch award shows? But two, how would you fix this? Because I think last year people watched it. And I remember a big YouTuber, I think his name is Gart. He lives in Japan. He watched it last year with a friend of his, and he thought it was boring. A lot of people thought it was boring. How would you fix something like this to where it makes sense? Because, like you mentioned, Chris, Hell's Paradise. I'll put Dead Mount Death Play somewhere in here because that's some of the best storytelling of the last season. So, Chris, I'll ask you, or ask Deon first. What would you how would you change this anime Crunchyroll awards? And do you watch other award shows at all, like music, movies, any of that?
So as far as watching them, I don't. They make me cringe, but I do like catch up to them. And as far as what do you change, it depends on why you're having them. If you're having them to fit fans, then you do a fan vote. But if you're having them just to kind of kiss butt and show face to all the big production studios and like Crunchyroll putting this on, and then they go for a complete, I'm gonna call it a buyout. They want to try to buy out a bunch of stuff. Like, yeah, we just gave y'all a bunch of props. Let's make sure y'all stay on our site. Like, so if that's the case, just keep doing what you're doing and keep the big names up there and keep them happy and keep the fat cats pockets fed. Other than that, give it to the fans.
Okay. Chris, what's your takeaway from both this? So have you watched any other award shows, and what would you think they should change about this? Do you kind of agree, Deon, make it a fan thing? But if you want to keep it the way it is, where you're just going to appease the studios and the big wigs, keep it that way and make it what it is.
so it's not that I don't agree with Dion, but it just doesn't make any business sense. Like at the end of the day, these companies are about making their money and about turning a profit. So if they want their fans to keep watching their shows, they should listen to their. So to answer your question, no, I really do not care for award ceremonies because any of the arts that are portrayed are subjective to the eyes or to the person.
Correct.
So therefore, if your fans are in disagreement and it's chaotic, then it shouldn't matter what people say. But since
Correct.
you do have a fan base, and you're only showing the popular ones, you're pushing out the other studios, which makes Deon, it kind of makes Deon's argument null and void. Because if the other studios, if they're getting promoted just as much, then they should get just as much recognition. Because they can still lose those contracts too.
You're not wrong. There is one. Okay, so I kind of said I don't watch award shows. There's only one I watched, the Game Awards, and it's the exception to the rule for me because it's done by Jeff Keighley. He tries to get the whole industry involved. He tries to get Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo all involved. He also tries to get indie developers and other smaller studios involved and show off their stuff. So he does a really good job with it. The other side of that coin, I think, with that is that for what he had to do to fix that one, because it used to be called VGAs, it used to be called a couple other things, and it was the first when it was called the VGAs, it was really bad, really bad. Now it's gotten better, more interesting to watch, music performances, all that kind of stuff. It is a long show; it's about 3 hours on average. But I think the one thing it does very well, he really tries to make sure, hey, this is for the fans who love video games, who are interested in video games. My estimation, you need to if you're gonna make this Crunchyroll Awards a thing, you have to make it for the fans. The fans are your base, and if your fans are gonna see what really, who won, who lost, all that kind of stuff, put a lot of stuff. Put a diverse category. I didn't see all the categories, and I didn't look them up either. But I wonder what the rest of the categories were like, because you have a lot of stuff in there that has some big hitters, but I wonder if the rest of the list was kind of
You, but if they go ahead and put like, we're gonna do it by the seasons. So winter season, spring season, summer season, fall season, the best animes of the season, and then come back because then that's gonna cause people to want to go back and rewatch these shows.
Correct.
And then out of the top 2 or 3 out of those categories, then you have to pick your number 1.
Okay. All right. So like if you're doing this coming season, so top 3 isekais, top 3 shonens, top 3 romantics, top 3 dramas, top 3 comedies. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before we move on to the next topic, which will be this is gonna be a Crunchyroll heavy night, by the way. Deon, I'm gonna give you last word on this, kind of rebutting what Chris said, or just kind of overall thoughts, what we kind of talked about already.
Yeah. See, when you say it doesn't make fiscal sense, right? It doesn't make sense to their pockets. The only way that doesn't make sense if you hand it to the fans is if you never intended to have the fan in mind in the first place. Because why are you doing it now? If you're doing it now for the fans, or if you're doing it now just to put money in your pocket, don't show me on TV. Don't broadcast it. Don't put it out there. Just have it in your back pocket. Y'all go do your thing and then post it later. Because you're wanting us to watch it.
I think it was on Crunchyroll. If I remember correctly, it was streamed on Crunchyroll and it was streamed on Twitch, if I also remember.
I think it was Twitch.
Yeah, it was Twitch. But I think you could watch it on Crunchyroll later. It was going to be uploaded there. Yeah. I could see that.
You're paying. I have to pay to watch this. I should at least be involved.
Yeah. The only thing with that, I agree with you there, Deon. The only thing with that, I'm always kind of worried about fans. Fans don't really do a good job of portraying good things over bad, and we'll get into the charts later tonight. That's a whole other story for later. But I think in this case, I think fans would have done a better job.
I understand.
Fans would have done a better job picking the picks of who would have been in these categories, for the most part. There probably been a few. You could have a committee there to prove, hey.
And I think there is categories, if I'm not.
Yeah, there are a couple categories.
If I'm not mistaken, I do think there are categories like isekai and.
Correct. There are other couple categories that are kind of there.
There's a couple more
that are there for that purpose. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll ultimately see. Like I said, this is a Crunchyroll every night because we're gonna roll right into the other thing. Speaking of fans, Crunchyroll mentioned the fact that they made Solo Leveling for the fans. They thought the fans wanted it. And they really thought about bringing something to the fans that's interesting, different, and something of an anime that's going to kind of bring up a storm. Not a storm, but bring people to it and everything. the weird part about this was that in the article it's based on, it kind of felt like corporate speak to me, in the sense that there wasn't really a good reason to there was a good reason to make Soul Leveling and bring it to the Crunchyroll, but it also felt like we did it because the fans wanted it. I can kind of see it, kind of not. He mentioned the CEO of one of the heads of Crunchyroll said, we mentioned the manhwa, we had Aplex Studios do it, they had all this stuff already kind of in motion. So I'm gonna start off with Deon for this. Deon, what do you think about that Crunchyroll is trying to listen to their fans ultimately, but it feels like they did it to know because they saw the online um, wave of people going after the manhwa, going after the webcomic, going after the light novel, and really just trying to see what this show was about? Or was the thing like, oh, they see all this online stuff, we need to greenlight this as fast as possible?
Basic case of covering their backsides. They don't want people to think they've gone too corporate, and they still want people to feel like they matter. And I mean, we just had this conversation about the the award show. Clearly, the fans don't matter. So, you saying that you brought out Solo Leveling for the fans, it's like, where's the proof?
Because there ain't no pudding nowhere.
Right.
There ain't no pudding.
There we go.
Where's the proof of that? Because now you chasing this clout that Solo. If it sucked, if Solo Leveling came out and did horrible, would you still claim it?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
You're not wrong, sadly, and I'll push back in a second. Deon, Chris, what did you think about this whole article and what the Crunchyroll head kind of said about Soul Leveling?
Well, sure, Deon said it. Because here's the thing, bro. Why would you not put your stamp on something that you put your money into? That makes no sense to me. Because look, and then Crunchyroll has their originals that they had put their stamp on.
Yes, they have.
I don't know why. Like Dr. Stone is one of them. Yeah, Dr. Stone is a Crunchyroll original.
You know what? I did see that, even though I didn't watch Dr. Stone on Crunchyroll. I seen that recently.
If Dr. Stone is an original from Crunchyroll, and yet the fan hype for Dr. Stone is pretty high already, and is one of the best shows out there, that seems like you found something out there and then bought it and then said, oh, we're gonna make an anime for this because it was getting hype, but the hype wasn't there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And is that why Dr. Stone didn't win any awards?
Dr. Stone won awards when it first came out, I believe.
The first season.
The fourth season?
Yeah, the first season it won a lot of stuff. Not this current season.
You gotta shoot for the home team sometime.
Well, I mean, they also had Tower of God, which was also good. The God of High School, which was also good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Tower of God it's good, but it's like,
I mean, give it this.
If you trip up one time, it's all over.
So my thing is, then, if we're talking about the fact that they've done this with Dr. Stone, Tower of God, and yet to me, the way he says that in the article about Soul Leveling, I'm like, then you're kind of telling me he's kind of not telling the truth, because then that tells me you've done this prior, and yet you're just making it feel like it's gotten bigger because of y'all looking at it.
It's Netflix all over.
It tells me to. Here's the thing I'm gonna get kind of weirded out by, and I'll mention this because I'm not gonna mention this. I won't mention next time. I'll mention it here. I told Chris about this. Deon, you know Mr. Beast, right? The YouTuber. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Beast, holla at your boy. Put me on your show. No,
like So he said in a recent Twitter thread, and it was not something I saw personally. I saw it from a video of somebody talking about it, but then I saw it on Talk About News because they mentioned it. On a recent Twitter thread, he said he watched episode 8 of Solo Leveling and got depressed. And I was like, huh? I was confused. But then on top of it all, a YouTuber I watch who breaks down Solo Leveling and kind of takes the pieces we do from the manhwa and light novel, like, or the manhwa and webtoon, like me and Chris Deon do, he'll add in the gaps. But also, he had a pull up from one of his for the last episode for 8, and he started doing that last week or episode 6. So he has a poll up, and the poll is a 10 through 1, like we do. But then he'll have a comment, and the person in the comment, basically, it's like less than a paragraph. He goes, I'm paraphrasing. Basically, he says, I don't get why this show gets so much flack for what it does. It's good. And he gave it like 6.5. The person that has for the comment for the person. But yet he goes, also, it's weird to me because some of the stuff feels disjointed, the dialogue and some of the way they do certain things. And on top of it all, and I'll add one more thing to this level of stuff. Episode 7.5 is the most disliked episode on Crunchyroll. Mind you, it was a recap episode. So how?
I'm gonna answer that.
I'll let you answer that in a second, Chris. But here's my thing about all this. The old saying goes, and still a saying to this day, even bad publicity is good publicity for something. In this case, even though Solo Leveling is not getting like the great hype, it's probably like all they did all this hype and marketing for it. Even though it's not doing like super great, it's doing okay numbers. Even though people are talking about it, people are not. Some people are not liking it. Some people are loving it. The publicity they're getting, Crunchyroll is getting across the board is like, okay, all right, we did well. Thumbs up to us. But then you go back and go, then you read that article and you go, I'm thinking now like, so y'all just went on a bandwagon. You got onto a bandwagon just because it was popular. And now you're reaping the rewards of that, and now you're saying it's because the fans want it.
So is Crunchyroll a Korean company?
Say it again.
Is Crunchyroll a Korean company?
No, it's American.
Oh, okay, I was just trying to just making sure.
It is an American Sony company. Yeah.
Just making sure, because I could have sworn Solo Leveling was a Korean original anime.
Manhwa.
And it is.
It is.
I'm just trying to get my facts lined up. I don't know.
You're good. Chris, go ahead. What were you gonna say? Because I sorry to cut you off there.
So ask your question, because ask the question again.
Oh, because you want to answer that. You loaded.
So my question to you was, why? So basically, why is all this hype and stuff happening, but yet half the spectrum disliked it, half the spectrum likes it, but then like the Mr. Beast thing, which me and you thought was kind of crazy. Why is everybody kind of digging on this now and this saying it's one of the good, best, or worst anime ever?
Oh.
Okay. All right.
You have to understand something. We all skipped 7.5.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be a filler. That's because we did our research. Yes?
Yeah, we did.
How many people watched the episode and did not know what was coming?
Okay,
yeah. I'm done.
Right. You're right. You're right.
I mean, it's technically wasn't even described as a filler episode.
No, they said recap.
We just finna catch y'all up.
But y'all remember that made no sense. That made no sense until I realized what studio it was.
Yeah,
it's the same studio that did match. And they did it last year, and they did it in Match this year too. So
did they do it in Match this year?
Yeah, remember that? They had
a point. Yeah, they had a 0.5 episode.
They had their pause a week before Solo Leveling.
Y'all remember this? The sitcoms where you miss an episode or you watch an episode and then when it comes back on it'd be like, what happened last week on such and such? That's basically
Yes.
all this episode was. So if you felt like you need to even vote on this, like it's pointless.
But
I
here's
did
my
start to watch it though. I
didn't
didn't make
touch
it
it.
through.
I didn't touch 7.5, so I was like, I already know what's gonna happen. We've already seen everything up to this point, so I'm not gonna.
And then when I have friends like y'all to explain everything, there's no need for a recap.
Correct.
And it was literally just showing clips of
From
what
all the
already happened. Like it wasn't like redesigned, and it literally was just this is what happened last week on solo leveling.
Yeah.
So the only reason it even got voted on was because people actually sat and watched it without doing any research prior to watching it.
Or expecting some type of weird spin or something
Yeah.
something more from what they told you it was gonna be.
Now let me ask y'all something. Did the studio set that up or did the fans set themselves up?
It's a little bit of both.
little bit of A and B. I'm gonna lean more to the fans' expectations were set up in the way they thought it was gonna be something different. Because the studio explicitly said it was a recap on Twitter,
See?
on Instagram. We also knew it because when the episode was going to come out, there was already articles
In the
about
most technological era, we have the
in the most technological era, we have the most people who don't be able to look up things. That's been a thing. That's been
you
a thing
have
for
the whole internet in your hands, and yet you say you don't know something.
But see,
No.
you gotta look at it like this too. Why is the expectation so high? Because the studio has been giving them, to me, good content. So it's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna put out a filler episode, but is it still gonna be something I want to watch? Like, yeah, it's gonna be an episode that's supposed to be recapping, but are you gonna retell it? Are you gonna reimagine it? Like, because that's what we're seeing at. We wanted a Valentine's Day episode, and we literally got a catch up.
I mean, Magic and Muscles did a Valentine's Day thing, but we didn't see it on our end in America because it was something they just did over in Japan. So
see, I think that's what they wanted from solo leveling. They wanted something like that, and it was like, nah, bro. That's
but why are you gonna do that with a story that has no reason for it?
Ding ding.
Like that doesn't make sense. Let's roll into this last thing before we get into the charts. So this kind of compounds. By the way, I'm gonna say this right now for all three of us. We're not really haters of Crunchyroll at all. I just think it's weird that these three stories came out pretty much back to back to each other within a week, where Crunchyroll already got some flack for raising the prices, hike price stuff. A couple weeks ago we talked about.
We just want to know what your reasons are.
Correct. So this last story. So basically, Crunchyroll, one of the heads of Crunchyroll, pretty much said that they are going to be trying to go buy more platforms. Basically, they want to become one of the main distributors of anime across the world. This kind of doesn't feel right because that just ultimately means they're going to be buying a lot of other things that own anime and try to be the monopoly. But I digress. I'm gonna start off with Chris for this. Chris, is this a good idea for Crunchyroll? Or is this gonna be a bad idea?
I mean, realistically, there's only one other platform I think that they could even buy.
Which is
all the rest. Yes. Other than that, they'll be competing with Netflix, and that's really it. They'll be competing with Netflix and whatever ATX, I guess. I mean, because if you think about it, the Crunchyroll is on Hulu and Max and and Amazon Prime, so it's like.
Deon, what do you think about them saying they want to buy more platforms, becoming like one of the top, basically the top in anime across the world? What is that? What do you think about that whole situation?
Well, It's a smart move for Crunchyroll. And I say that because of the price hike.
Ding, 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 ding.
If they keep the price where it's at after the absorption of Funimation, like we were saying, I want to say a couple weeks before, what am I gaining from keeping Crunchyroll? Well, they're trying to give people what you're gonna gain. You're not just gonna have Crunchyroll, you're gonna have this and that and High Dive and all this other stuff that they're trying to acquire. So it's smart for them. Will it work? Again, what am I gaining for this high price?
Yeah.
You know, if it's stuff that I could have kept on my own anyway, or I can go to .com and watch it anyway, then why am I paying, $100 a year or however much it is right now and what it will be in about 6 months? Because I hear it's supposed to go up again. But whatever that is, who cares at that point? I don't care who you buy if your price too high.
Yes, it.
The only way this will work, and I think there's two things. I don't think they buy out High Dive, Chris, because High Dive's trying to stay around. They're trying to stay alive. The only other problem with that, too, and Crunchyroll's pretty much gave you the indication they don't want to do it. They don't want to do a bunch of mature content on their platform. Like you mentioned, Chris, a long time ago, if you're literally looking for stuff that has a lot of mature content, fan service, all that kind of stuff, you have to search for it. The downside is you buy High Dive, that's mostly High Dive's kind of thing. Mature content, blood, gore, fan service stuff. It ends up being them going into that space when they don't really want to go in that space.
Unless they do it how Amazon does it.
Okay, that's fair.
Where you have your main page, right? But then it says your subscriptions to Stars and Paramount. And you got to click on that to get to all of their content. So it's not necessarily flooding Crunchyroll with all of this content. You just have access to it through Crunchyroll.
And then that would be a partnership then.
Not necessarily. It could still be a buyout.
They can still own the content, but then it on those platforms.
I mean, even that type of buyout is called a partnership because they would have to keep the High Dive name.
Yes, they would. They couldn't dissolve. They actually, in this case, they dissolve the Funimation name. So basically, they would have to dissolve the High Dive name.
But they could call it like Crunchyroll X or something, and just have all that extra content.
And the thing that I think is more likely from this, because reading the rest of the article, I kind of thought about it. They want to get by more platforms. The thing that's more likely, and the thing I think they can do easier, they can go around to Netflix, Hulu, or Netflix, High Dive, and all these other like Disney and them, and go, we want to buy all these properties from y'all that are anime and take them over. That's more likely to me because I think they can have they would get a better deal out of that because they can add all those properties to Crunchyroll.
So Disney route.
Correct. Basically the Disney route, which also is still bad because they would still be the number one leader in anime across the United States and the world, but at least you're adding content over a company.
I mean, they're still that right now, so
yeah. But I think a lot of people, if they have the option, a lot of people would probably use Hulu or Netflix or something else other than Crunchyroll if it wasn't for the fact Crunchyroll has a lot more of that list.
Yeah, Crunchyroll has all the content, especially now with Funimation being absorbed. Crunchyroll has everything. The only thing is Hulu still has it. So
yeah.
But it'll probably be off come April though.
Yeah, that's what probably gonna happen.
That's if they dissolve their partnership.
Which they could and just give.
If they keep their partnership, it's still gonna be there.
I think
no, but they would have to recontract that though.
Yeah,
unless Crunchyroll settled for the same numbers Funimation had already.
Yeah, but that still has to be drawn a new contract because that's the new company name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper.
I think the thing is about this whole situation, Crunchyroll wants to make moves to become one of those streaming sites you have to get for anime. you have to get for something. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, you have your streaming services for movies, you have a streaming service for shows, you have a streaming service for this, that, and the other. Crunchyroll want to be the one where you have to have for anime. Nothing else will suffice. The thing is, like Deon mentioned, if I'm gaining more than I'm losing from the price hike, fine. But let's say, hypothetically, they do get a hot dive out of this deal. They do get a bunch of anime. I think Deon's have a point. We're at $100. They're gonna be at $100 in April for the whole year. I could see that price end up going to $120, $130, $140 if they added more to this package. And ultimately, that's gonna just kill trying to get new. That's not gonna help you getting new users. That's gonna hurt you more than ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do this. Before we get into charge, I'm gonna do this for both of y'all. I'm gonna ask this for both of y'all. What chance? And I'll start off with Deon. What chance do you give Crunchyroll either getting another platform or getting more anime to bolster their site? And what is that percentage chance that it's actually gonna give them more fans overall?
I do feel like they'll acquire more. They are the big dogs right now in anime services. The only thing that would hurt them is if they price gouge too soon. If they acquire stuff and give people a taste of that, and I don't want Crunchyroll to be getting any ideas, but if they acquire stuff, give people a taste of that, be like, yeah, see what y'all getting. This is great. This is cool. Bam, bam, bam. Splat, you get hit with ads. Okay, now this price is for ads free. If you want the premium service, you got to jump up to 160 to get without ads, and like just like Netflix did and HBO did. They started off great and then hit you with that ad price, and it's like, all right, bro. You know.
So what? So you gave me a good explanation. So what percentage would you say if that did happen? What percentage of that do you think, if it actually does happen, what percentage do you give that actually could happen?
I'm gonna say about 80%.
Oh, that's high. Okay.
The way that all these streaming services are going right now,
That's the business model.
They got to keep up with everybody else.
All right.
You know,
And they get money from ads. So if you have a subscription, and let's say they offer the $4.99 package, but it has ads. Well,
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Well, that's how they get you. You already got the subscription. I'm gonna get you some ads. Now I'm getting money from the ads and your subscription. Oh, you pay a little bit more, you got the same service. They pretty much getting the same money that they still getting because you not paying for the ads, but you paying for the replacement for the ads.
Yeah.
Which
they bank on you being annoyed by ads, just like YouTube. They bank on you being annoyed by the ads, and then they flush their own ads out there. Buy premium, and you won't have to see this.
Okay. Chris, what percentage number would you give that if this were going to happen? What percentage number do you think Crunchyroll will actually do it and actually get in more of their stuff?
It's not a thing of if they were going to do it. It's about when they're going to do it.
When? Okay.
So that should say that it's 100% going to happen.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. That is fair. I am more along the lines with, I'm between both of y'all. I think this is about an 85 to 90% chance. It's like Chris said, it's not if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be when. The only thing I'm worried about, and I think the thing they don't want to do, two things. If you're gonna do the split tiers like Netflix did, a lot of people didn't like the fact that the highest tier was almost $20. You can't do that. But I think the thing that you should, if you're gonna do it the way I think you should do it, the best model for it, one of the better models for it is Peacock. Only because I watch wrestling on Peacock, I watch all the wrestling pay-per-views. $5 is the base price. But if you pay $10, you don't get the normal ads, you get WWE type ads. So like promo stuff, talking about our shows, talking about characters and things, which is a little bit, you're still getting the ads, but you're getting their ads, and it's something that you're going to be interested in looking at, not just the normal ads, no more on the bit ads. If you're going to do an ad, you can do 2 ad versions. You can do the non-ad the ad version where it's just different types of ads, or I would be okay with doing the Crunchyroll type of ads where you show me other anime or talk about other anime. So you have, at least, if you're going to have ads, you're going to have something that's still based within Crunchyroll. That's probably
But they wouldn't do that because that doesn't bring them a profit. That actually takes away money away from them because they got to spend money to make those.
Correct.
Well,
That is
HBO does it.
That's
Where, I mean, and they don't have the 2 tiers, but they just promote themselves. Whereas
They promote themselves, but they also promote outside of HBO too.
Yeah, they do. They promote like insurance and stuff like that.
I think if you do a mix of both, for like if you do the ad set where it's a mix of both, I think people will be okay with it. Ultimately, it probably is not going to be the best idea overall, but I think it's probably a simple fix for now. For the when they ever do this, where it's not going to feel like, oh, I'm just going to be watching a bunch of ads between every 5 minutes of a show. No.
Yeah, give me a startup ad. Give me a startup ad tier where it's like I can pay $4 a month extra or like $2 extra from whatever your ad tier is to get one ad whenever at the beginning of every show.
Okay.
Like before I watch my show, I gotta sit through one ad and then I can watch my show. I'll do
so
that.
like yes. 130-second ad or something.
Yeah, like how YouTube does it. When you click on the video, you get an ad that pops up. You walk through that ad, and then you get to watch your whole video, unless it's like 16 hours long.
Yeah.
But you get to watch your whole video without being interrupted. Like, I'll take that.
Okay. Let me know what y'all thinking about in the comments between what Crunchyroll is trying to do with expanding their services, what they're trying to do with solo leveling, and also what they're trying to do with the anime awards. Because I think Crunchyroll is in a good place. I just think they're trying to be this premium thing. And I don't know, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I think this is still going to be kind of a thing. Anime is not for everybody. But I don't think you should push it to everybody if at all possible. That's the one thing we're seeing more and more now, and I think that's going to be the scary reality eventually, where anime is going to they're going to push anime to everybody, but everybody's not going to take to it the same way.
Let me ask you this, B-Mac.
Go ahead.
Chris, since you say that, do you think Crunchyroll will ever get other content?
Define other content.
Correct. Go ahead.
Cartoons, as we call it, like Family Guy type stuff, or maybe a couple movies or something like that, like live action movies, like how Netflix has it, stuff like that.
If the Rick, and this is going to be where I'm going to say this, if the Rick and Morty anime do well enough,
let's hope not.
If the Rick anime does well enough, I could see yes. Ultimately, yes, I could see them doing. They're not Family Guy because it's also kind of that level of like, mature. So you would have to hide it in places, but. Yeah, something like a Pokemon live action thing, the Pokemon movie, could they get the rights to that to put on Crunchyroll? Absolutely. If they ever made another Pokemon movie in general, yeah, absolutely. If you ever did, we're getting live action stuff for like Tenacious D and a couple other things. Yeah, if I ever saw those come on Crunchyroll, cool. But ultimately, it'd be kind of hard to do and make it feel like it's still anime for the most part. Also, I think a lot of fans will be turned off by it because we do have live action things right now on here, but they're not the greatest thing ever. So
compared to the internet, One Piece and Avatar are doing great right now. You hear the sarcasm in my voice, right?
Yeah, I do.
So much sarcasm.
So much. But Chris, I'll let you answer it. I'll let you answer it in a sec. But I think that's the other thing. If those two are doing well enough, yes, we'll also see them try to dip into that. but that's the only exception to those rules.
I
So,
hope
Chris,
not.
go ahead and answer Deon's question before we move on to charts.
I thought I answered it. No.
Did you? The one he just asked. I don't know if you
Oh,
answered that.
ask it again.
If
So, Deon,
Crunchyroll is gonna get other content outside of anime,
and you asked what
I
other
hope
con.
I hope not. Now I hope they do. I would like what I would like to see are anime spin-offs of American shows.
explain.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
sorry. I know we're probably running out of time, but
No, we're good. We're
No,
good.
what
no,
We're
does that
good.
mean?
We're good. We're good.
Like I would like to see Genlock on here.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
but see, I consider that like an American anime.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I would like
I
to
get
see
that. See, I was thinking like you were talking about this Rick and Morty type thing.
bro, you knew I was against that from the get-go.
So I think
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Explain, bro. What are you?
So I
Yeah,
think
no, I'm
what
talking
Chris
about,
saying. So Genlock would be a good one for that. Metallic Rogue is all done in English, even though it's Japanese based. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you do more English based anime and you put on here, that would
Or
be okay.
I would even take it a step further and put like the anime Supernatural or X-Men on there.
Yeah, things like that. I can
Like
see.
some Afro Samurai or something.
Yeah, things like that. I can see that. Or Samurai Jack would be considered under that same rule for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things like I can see that.
But
That would
see,
be
if you
interesting.
start doing that, then where's the cutoff?
The cutoff would be maturity content.
Mature content. So like
So
you couldn't do.
Powerpuff Girls could go on there.
No, it's not mature enough.
Yeah, cool. I see that. So kind of sticking with like people like maybe high like rated 14.
If it's coming out of America, it needs to be rated at least PG-14 and up.
But then that cuts stuff off like Pokemon and Digimon.
But see, those are exceptions. Those are exceptions where I'm like, okay.
But if you know, those are also not on Crunchyroll.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if they get outside content, why not get outside content? Because it is on Hulu under their anime situation.
It is.
You know,
Well,
what
then
I'm
they're
saying?
going to tell you
Pokemon
to
and
watch Hulu.
Digimon for sure. Yu-Gi-Oh,
You
stuff
give them
like that.
Yeah, you give them
Even the first season of Dragon Ball. Like,
I think the distinction is going to be if they ever kind of got to that side. And this would be Crunchyroll's whole thing about it. I think if they were like, if it's popular enough, we'll put it on there. Pokemon's popular enough. You can put all the seasons of Pokemon on there, somebody will watch it. Yu-Gi-Oh's popular enough. Digimon's popular enough. You can put it all on there.
Powerpuff Girls isn't popular.
Yes, it's popular. Not right now, but it would be one of those ones eventually. You could it'd be a legacy thing where you could put Powerpuff Girls on there. You could
but hold up though, they do have Powerpuff Girls Z.
Yes, they do. They do.
Teen Titans.
Teen Titans would be on that list because they're.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because it's not something. It's hard because Crunchyroll's just been straight anime based, and if you really think about it, it's kind of hard to add other things to the service without making the anime fandom like, why'd you add this? Why'd you add that? And that's going to be a thing we're going to see down the road. Maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, that might change. But for now, I think they're just trying to get all the anime they can on here first, and then if they branch out, they will branch out.
You made a good point. If Rick and Morty does good, we'll start seeing it go in that direction.
Correct.
Rick and Morty and this McDonald's thing, if it does good, we're going to see a whole, and the Toyota thing, we're going to see a whole different area of anime.
I don't think Toyota counts.
The Toyota thing, the Toyota thing partially counts, but it doesn't count because it's still under racing anime. So basically,
and it's made in Japan. So.
It's made in Japan.
It's still like a item becoming anime. So we'll see things like that. Like what's next? You know what I'm saying? Mercedes finna do one.
That's the thing. Like if you told me if you told me Lamborghini, you told me Ford in America, you told me GMC, you told me it's one of those companies were making one. GMC and Ford probably two in America that would probably big. If they told me they're making anime, then I would look for cause for pause. I'm like,
I'm gonna laugh.
that'd
If
be
I
funny.
I mean, it's just Hot Wheels.
Yeah, Hot Wheels would be that. So yeah.
They got their
Exactly.
anime out. Hot Wheels got a anime.
Yeah.
I call it an anime, but it's an animated series. You know?
Animated series. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. That is fair.
I'm done with this conversation.
Hey, the Hot Wheels was hot, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love both these guys because we can dig into a conversation. This is supposed to be really mundane, really kind of simple. We can dig into it and we can find other things to talk about, which is a good thing. I don't mind that at all. But let's get into these anime charts because, man, were we all wrong about these anime charts? And I do have to apologize because I think we were all wrong. Let's get into this. Dangers in My Heart season 2 is at 1. Fur Beyond Journey's End is at 2. Magic and Muscles is at 3, moved up 4 spots. Classroom Elite dropped 2 spots to 4. Rhonda Crisbin dropped 2 spots to 5. The Marrying My Worst Enemy stayed at 6. The Apothecary Diaries dropped 2 spots to 7. A Sign of My Affection went up a spot to 8. Delicious Dungeon moved up 7 spots back in the top 10. And Chain Soldier, it went up 2 spots to 10. So not those Dungeons at 9, Chain Soldiers at 10. Chris, or actually Deon, what's your big takeaway from this chart? And go ahead, because I think I know where you're going.
Man, do I have to? Like, I really don't want to acknowledge Anime Corner right now. Like, why is Magic and Muscles on this chart at all? Why did it move up 4 spots from last week's episode? Like, what is this? What?
See,
This,
that's some
everything
contracts.
else in
That's
this
those
chart is-
contracts we were talking about.
Yeah. They definitely had to make some fat cat happy with this one because everything else is exactly where it's supposed to be. Dangers in My Heart, for Fair and Beyond Journey's End, they're neck to neck, right? They're fighting for that number 1 spot. But
here's the funny thing about that 1-2. Dangers in My Heart's 11.01%. For Beyond Journey's End, it's only at 7%. It only went up by 7%. There's still a 4% gap between those two.
Yeah.
And then Magic and Muscles at 6.17%.
Ridiculous. Absolutely. I don't care if everything else on this chart had a horrible show. Like last week, they all had breaks. Magic and Muscles last episode, bruh, did not even be considered an anime.
Chris, go ahead, and then I'll go, and then we'll get into the episode. By the way, get up episode 20 of Magic and Muscles. We're getting to episode 20 because episode 20 is kind of interesting. Have that up and get that ready to go. But Chris, go ahead about the charts.
I was the only person who gave it a score higher than y'all.
Yep. Absolutely.
And no, I would not change my score. But yeah, it ain't even no but. But I don't apologize for the score I gave either. Because it was well deserved. For anybody else who say differently, well, y'all can see me after class.
Yeah.
Sound like me.
See me at 3 o'clock, bruh.
Man.
Here's my thing, and I've said it throughout this season. I know both these guys are gonna hate me keep saying this, and I'm gonna keep saying it until the end of this season is done. All they want you to do is turn your brain off and enjoy it.
Oh, it was off.
And sadly, if you think back to the episode, and I have to say it now, sadly, if I'm thinking back to the episode, it's just basic comedy. It's basically just jokes. It is basically just jokes. But here's the thing. For most people, most of those jokes would hit because it's just something to laugh at. For us who's looking at it in depthly, me, Deon, and Chris, it feels like the jokes are not doing what they're supposed to. But yet, I think for anybody else watching it, it's less like, okay, I can laugh at this. It's funny. I can take my time. I can enjoy it. But if you start overthinking it, I think that's when people kind of like, what? This story doesn't make sense. The ending doesn't make sense. We saw from last week. That doesn't matter. Because I think what we're figuring out now is that for Mash and Muscles, it's a fandom thing. I'll mention this here because we don't talk about it much, and Otaku News mentions it a lot. That opening song is at 60 million views.
Oh, it's a great song.
One of the top songs I've probably seen in anime history in a long time. Think about the fact that song's at 60 million views. Think about the fact that people have seen the first couple episodes of the show, the first season at least. That tell you something. But ultimately, that's still kind of scary to think about. And I said it before we started this podcast tonight. I'll eat humble pie. I was wrong. I am wrong when it comes to the fact that I thought it'd be out of the top 10. Yeah, based on this chart, it's not. Based on this, it's good.
Like slice. Because it should have been out of the top 10.
It should have.
Put that on everything. If the wrong way to use healing magic.
Here we go.
Metallic Road. Witch and Beast.
What happened?
All these shows have had
Shangri-La. You could put that on that list.
Episodes, especially like Shangri-La. Great comedic episodes. And still have not made it to the top 10. There's got to be something.
Okay, so I'm gonna run through 11 through 20. Villainous level 99 is at 11. Moon Fantasy is at 12. 13 Shangri-La. Girls That Are Super Adorable is at 14. Gushing Over Magic Girls is at 15. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic is at 16. Witch and the Beast is at 17. Undead Unlucky is at 20. And The Unwanted Undead Adventures at 19. Basically, if Delicious Dungeon didn't jump 7 spots, you would have probably saw either Villainous, Moonlight, or Shangri-La hit the top 10.
No, but no, Delicious and Dungeon actually.
Dungeon is actually good. So that's one I'm gonna I'll give pass to because that's actually pretty good. But
and they've been in the top 10 before. They're used to it. And
it's funny. It was 17 prior.
Was the seventh? I forget that long title, but
yeah,
they've been in the top 10.
By the way, so we were all wrong on this. That Ninja Kura show is at 18.
Kurama.
Yep, it's at 18 still. So it's still in the top 20. So that's also kind of interesting.
And
let me look. Bujigiri is 37.
26. Oh, 37.
Bujigiri is 37. Metallic Rogue is 34, which should be a lot higher than that. But that's just.
But see, Bushigiri is 37, but MASH is.
And here's the thing, Chris will tell you this. Me and Chris will tell you this. Bujigiri is more funny than my MASH is, in the sense they just play for straight comedy. They're not playing it serious at any. The seriousness they do play, they'll just do a comedy thing right after.
Bro, Bujigiri, you had to turn your brain all the way off.
All the way off for it.
In this last episode of MASH,
you go let it sit somewhere. No. Compared to Bujigiri, no. Compared to Bujigiri, no.
Man, nowhere near.
This last episode of MASH.
Episode of Bujigiri and then tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
I watched half of the first episode and couldn't get through it.
Yeah. There we go.
That's when I'm waiting for the dub version. Like I'm not gonna sit there and attempt to waste life while watching it.
So we're not gonna hold on this long. But I will say this: it's interesting to me because you think about the list outside of Magic and Muscles, who's a male-led character. Everything else on the list, except for Change Holder, is the only other exception, has a female-led character. Also, the fact, actually, and also with Chain Soldier, you have a male lead, but all your other protagonists of that are all female led. So
It's sad because the male lead is getting abused by a female, so it's still
Yes. Like it's funny to me because I think what we're learning, this chart is more fandom, which is fine. It's not overdone, it's not crazy, it's just more fandom. I don't think it's bad. But I also think too, when a fandom like Magic and Muscles at 3 again, when it was at 3 prior, it's been in the top 5 before. But it's funny, this episode, a lot of people liked it that we all didn't like. Look at prior history. A lot of people liked another episode we all didn't like. So what'd he do? I don't know. We're gonna keep
Ain't
looking
no
at
telling at this point.
Yeah, no, there's no telling. And we're only 4 episodes away from the end of the season. So we'll see where this starts ends up. I will say this right now. Magical Messages will end up in the top of the 10 at the end of the season. It will end up in the top 10 because it's going to keep doing things that did well. And I think my prediction is still going strong. Delicious Dangers in My Heart will stay at number 1 for the rest of the season. That's the other one that's guaranteed. So, but let's get up Magic and Muscles episode 20. After what happened last week with us watching episode 19, episode 20 was a little bit different. We'll get into it. It's kind of interesting. I actually appreciate they kind of gave you story, but not gave you story. We'll see. In a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Yeah, Deon said he'd be right back.
Okay. I do want to ask you this, Chris. Do you think if this chart was done by Crunchyroll, like Deon's mentioned in the past before, and mentioned even before we got on tonight, do you think this would be a lot more interesting? Or not interesting, but different?
I mean, yeah, but that's only I mean, so it's just hard to say that they're for the fans when they had so many other shows to pick from.
Yeah,
if that makes more sense.
Yeah, they did. It's scary because I think it's gonna be a different thing down the road. I think eventually with the spring season, we'll be into pretty soon. We're gonna be talking about that sooner or later, what we're gonna watch for that. But I think the spring season is gonna be really, really telling because spring season has a lot of bangers, a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of things that are get around. So that's gonna really tell what this chart does because if you see things like Demon Slayer or Attack on Titan, you know those two will be in the top 10 mostly. But you also have things like Kaiju number 8, which people are excited for, which is like the same level of soul leveling of like hype, and it's gonna be fun nonetheless. I think this chart has just been really hard because a lot of this is drama, a lot of this romance and stuff, which a lot of people aren't into as much. But we'll see. It's gonna be interesting where it ends up after. Maybe at the end, where do the final chart of the year where it's like, what was the best anime of the winter season? Here's the top 10 list. But let's get into Magic and Muscles episode 20. In a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Mash and the Tall Tower. Why we? Oh yeah, I forgot they did the recap seeing this again, which makes no sense.
Did you all watch the episodes already?
Yeah, we did. I have to give them a little credit. They did a little better job with this episode. So it's interesting. You did. I'm guessing you did it.
Nope, I'm blind.
Okay, that's what I figured. I was kind of just
Yeah,
curious.
I'm
I was
blind
curious.
this time.
I was curious.
I did not care to watch it. Although I do like this theme song, man.
See, here's the thing. That's the other downside to the animes nowadays. If the theme song is a banger, but the show is kind of mid, that's kind of odd because that means the theme song is more better than the show itself.
Yeah, definitely. Especially these characters are so well developed.
Oh yeah,
Like I like the animation, I like the characters, I like the potential story. It's just I feel like they missed their mark, but I digress. Maybe it's just me.
I will say one thing, Deon. This episode does something really weird, which I think me and Chris both were kind of like, we get why, but the character they do it with doesn't make sense.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of that for me. So
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't really. Yeah, they do it.
they could just do the whole bling bling bum, the whole
Yeah,
show. And I'll be all right.
you'd be fine. You wouldn't care.
I would that'd be the whole show for me. I'll be all right with that.
By the way, the one of the characters they just panned to, we've seen before the guy the guy with the blonde hair that's with the little headband. We've seen before. Looks like a monk.
Is that the guy from season 1?
Yes, the one in the purple like monk outfit. He's from season 1.
That's the guy who mirror got broke, right?
Yes, that's the one like the mirror broke. I love the fact you tried to act against the headmaster and he basically just blew you off like nothing.
You insignificant spick.
Like you ain't when you ain't being the headmaster, you probably can't, but your boss can. In Zero.
They got history.
Yep.
You ain't saying my name like that unless you know me.
See, that's the thing. Like you say you want to be the perfect human. The last episode you wanted to merge with your son. Well, you should have mentioned you want to be the perfect human there, and that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
The way you said it here makes more sense. You're like, okay, I'm gonna be the perfect human. I want to have the magic and all his power. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that.
Now I just want to eat my son.
Correct. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't make sense when you think about it, ultimately. I will say this first part's a lot of talking just to get through.
I like how you had to get instantly serious. Like it wasn't no.
There was no build. There was no build for that. There's
Yeah.
no build for that at all. It's just like pop right in. We're gonna get instant serious. We're gonna have a giant fight.
Oh yeah, he really do just start out from the beginning.
The only people I don't get why he unfroze. Why do you unfreeze the redhead and the sister complex guy? I know sister complex guy is strong, but the redhead's not that strong. It's strong, but he's also a
No,
coward.
no, he will fight though. Shoot, yeah, he'll fight, and at
He'll
least they
fight.
little fiend frozen.
True.
They're probably some of the toughest people there that's still conscious.
Right. You say that you just slashed him in half. What the? Why does this remind me every movie battle ever, where it's like the two main characters that want to talk or that want to actually trying to fight or staying just talking, and everybody else around them is fighting around them. What? It doesn't.
I always thought they were like doing that shadow battle.
Could be. What the? Yep. Just the woman's hunch. That's the weirdest line ever.
Yeah, that's one of those things I just had to keep my brain turned off. Like, nah, no.
Like you could have said women's intuition would have made more sense, but okay.
But Brandon, what did he male?
He's male. But
Okay, so
the
that's why I
red
said
guy.
I need
No,
to-
he's not male. He's female.
he identifies as
But
female. Okay.
no. He identifies as male, but he's female.
Because the red guy says there's a
His
woman. You have a
true
woman's
form is a female.
female, woman heart. So it's like okay.
I'm done.
When he powered all the way up, he turned into a female. And like Sales' true form was that rat looking thing. His true form is female.
Okay, why is this song a banger, by the way? Mm,
Bro, I think that's almost sound like the same people that did Static Heroes.
that's probably it's close to it. It's close to it. Yep. Yes. Wait, why is this music sound like it's from a fighting game? Now listening to it more normal. That's a fighting game music.
With their magic sound effects and everything too, it definitely sounds like Street Fighter or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
What? Oh, Deon, be prepared. This gets creepy a little bit.
No, this gets stupid.
That's what I mean by creepy. It's creepy, but also not great. Makes no sense.
But
I
this is
am the
worth number
king.
3 on the chart.
I am the king of criminals. How are you the king of criminals? What?
Is this funny to y'all?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. This is so
I'm
weird.
just
It
trying
doesn't
to
make.
understand.
Basically, you can turn the guy can turn people into babies, where they can't use their magic. But you'll see in a second why this is also kind of weird because he says a line that doesn't really make sense. Okay, what?
I guess I'm just trying to understand why this show is number 3 on the chart right now.
I think they
And
made
why?
this for the fans just to say they had cute people or they had something cute.
But why'd you make him like chibi versions of themselves? Basically, like this doesn't make any sense. Why are they going after a rattle?
Like this is playing out like a filler episode.
Wait, Deon, it's gonna get worse because it's gonna get like we're getting so at the end of this. It's not gonna make any more sense than what we're watching now.
So he was strong when he was a baby too, huh?
And he said a tenth of gravity is a tenth of whatever.
Why would you say that? Like, it doesn't make. All right.
So we get it. Lance is super strong, which is why I don't understand why he wasn't on Mash's team. But Finn was.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris said he would say that. Why was Finn instead of why was Lance not on match team instead of Finn?
Told you. Called it.
Like, it's ridiculous.
By the way, Deon, this part here, I said to Chris, this reminds me of they did this in Harry Potter,
Harry
but they also
Potter.
did they done it in a couple other things too, where it's like the friends were friends, but now they're all in different pathways. One went evil, one went good, the other just neutral. Same type of story.
Same song and dance.
It's Baltimore.
Like they knew what they were doing.
Basically,
They knew
Baltimore.
what they were doing right there.
No dirt, he banned his humanity.
I am too human. Someone despise. That's going on a t-shirt.
That's going on a t-shirt. All right. Sion's face is like, what the world? And he's just thinking about cream puffs.
I need to go have me a cream puff. I need to understand why they're so important. Maybe I don't eat them the right way or something because
yeah, no, but that wouldn't make you understand this show. Absolutely not. Like that doesn't make any sense. But you also called something, by the way, Deon. Ever since the episode where they really mentioned food, we've had food in almost every episode. A food reference.
Episode.
A food reference. It doesn't matter what it was. Mainly with math, but we've had some kind of food reference.
Yeah.
How is he running on top of? Never mind.
Don't ask questions you can't have answers to.
That
There is no answer to that question.
That breaks the laws of physics.
If you want to be honest, they actually ripped that out from Dragon Ball Z.
Correct.
I mean, I'm okay with animes ripping animes off. Clearly, one of my favorite animes is Bleach. But God, bro.
You're the Blackthorn guy. And that's where it ends.
What did I just watch, bro?
Okay, I'm gonna make this insanely simple, like Chris did last week, because there's only 3 major parts in this. The beginning talk, which gives you all the backstory. The fight in the middle, from the time we see Innocent Zero and the Headmaster go in the air, that whole fight section, up until Mash goes out to fight. What's his name? The one with the black spikes, and then the back half. Back half starting where they're in the air again, we get to talk about why Innocent Zero the way he is, and that whole thing, and then the fight with Mash at the end. So I'll start off with this. Gentlemen, this starts off with a bunch of talking. But basically, the point of this talking is that Innocent Zero wants to be the perfect human. He says that because he wants Mash's power. But ultimately, he needs Mash to do that, so he's going to take Mash back to his home and do that. But Headmaster's saying, no, you cannot take him. If you take him, I'll fight you back. By the way, they've done this before a long time ago. So this has been a thing. One of his Innocent Zero's henchmen tries to fight the Headmaster. Headmaster thinks he's a little bug and just scares him half to death. So he does nothing. And then before we kick off this fight, Headmaster unfreezes redheaded dude, Lance, Margaret, Mash, his assistant, who's the Kane of dark magic, basically. They're all unfrozen so they can help the Headmaster beat off these little monsters. I'm going to start off with Deon for this. Deon, what do you think about this first little section? Because this section just recapped something from last time, but also added new things. Half it didn't matter.
Here it comes. Oh boy, here it comes.
I don't know if y'all can see my face or not.
Oh, I can. I can absolutely see it. Yeah.
What is this? Like, why did we have this 20-minute conversation? Everybody's fighting around you for you to literally just say the exact same thing you wanted to do from the last episode. Wow. Wow.
Well,
I see why you have to turn your brain off, or it'll hurt. But I tried to turn my brain up. I swear I did, and no glasses, right? Because I can't strain any harder trying to understand what the heck just happened.
Chris, go. Well, I'll Deon finish, but Deon.
No, go ahead. There's nothing to finish.
Chris, what do you think about this front half? Because this front half was just a bunch of talking to try to wrap up what happened last episode.
That's all it was. It was a bunch of talking. It was basically a recap. We already saw this. We saw it last season. Whoopee. Yay. Okay. Y'all had a conversation. We know who you are. Okay, move on. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Come in with a blow, swing, something. We already know y'all don't like each other. We know why you.
Yeah, like we already know it's like we came into the episode thinking it was going to be go time. Like now it's go time. Let's go. Like come on. What are we waiting on?
That was a huge setup from the last episode.
Yeah,
a huge setup. You got the big bad coming in for the first time. Did you still don't get to see the big bad do anything? What?
So let's go ahead to this middle part. This middle part, I'm covering this whole fight up until we see Mash go outside to see the dude. So basically, this fight starts off where they're all fighting these little monsters. Sand Cane guy, the Cane guy, all helping out the other students, and they're trying to beat off these monsters. They're trying to get to the Headmaster, but they can't. The monsters keep coming. Then we get to this weird scene because it doesn't make much sense, but they're trying to do some comedy. Like I said last episode, the comedy doesn't hit much anymore. The comedy is just kind of just drop. So then we see this guy dressed as a baby, rolled in on it. He starts pushing a baby cart, basically, and then he turns redhead guy into a baby. The redhead guy goes to Lance and tries to get Lance's attention. He's like, I need to get to Lance, but the whole time he's speaking in baby, but they're subtitling it out to what he's actually saying. So then Lance figures out he's a baby. I need to protect him. They try to do that. Doesn't really work much. Because then Lance gets turned into the baby. Before Lance gets turned into the baby, Redhead guy tries to use his magic. Doesn't really work. His magic is not null and void. They both get turned into babies. They go after this little rattle thing for a bit. As they get closer to rattle, monsters keep attacking. All this kind of stuff. Then on top of it all, it just makes it even more weird because then the guy's like, oh, I got y'all now. The Kane of criminals, by the way. The criminal Kane is what he called himself, which, all right, fair enough. So then then Lance is like, you know what? Let me try my magic. He tries his magic. It works. Like Chris said, a 10th of gravity is still pretty strong than most other magic. So you can still do gravity in some way, shape, or form. So the man could knock his dude down and knock him down, get him out of here, fine. Then the Kane that was next to the headmaster goes, oh, they overcome that age gap. What age gap, by the way?
So I think I figured that part out. I'll tell you.
Okay. I'll finish this section up. Between all this, by the way, I forgot to mention one scene that's in the beginning half before the fight. You hear the red-haired guy talk to Margaret, and Margaret says, or Margaret mentioned that Mash wasn't moving. It's a trap. Mash is just here to get us. They're trying to get the Mash. They don't care about us. They're going to make us do everything they have so they can get the Mash. And the red guy goes, how do you know that? Woman's hunch. And I'm like, are they really going to say it's woman's intuition? And they do mention that. But then the redhead guy goes, wait, how would you know that? Because he has a woman's heart. Wait, what? Deon mentioned something there too, so I'll let him mention that and we'll get to it. Then we see Mash run outside. We see the giant tower. Mash runs outside, starts kicking the tower to knock it down. We can see it knocked down. The guy standing on it. Then they kind of have a little back and forth. Mash doesn't remember who he is. The guy's kind of dumbfounded. And then before we get back to that, after that section, we get back to the sky. So Chris, I'm gonna start with you. What do you think about this middle section fight? Because the middle section fight was weird. With them started in the fight with cool action, then the baby thing happened, and then the back half was cool action again, but then doesn't really make some sense.
Like, so I don't understand the concept of having two babies fight with magic. It makes no sense. Like this is starting to look like a cartoon than an anime from this point.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like you're doing stuff that makes no sense, doesn't follow any story. Like, seriously, what happened?
Yeah. Deon, what you think of this middle section?
Is it sad that this is the only part of this entire episode that I understand?
No, it's not sad. It's not sad at all. I get it, but it doesn't make
the dude's power. Why he has this power or anything? Why are you the master of criminals? Why does that make you that? I have no idea. But his power is to revert you back to a baby's age. Like you are literally a baby now, and you continue to decrease in age. That makes sense for the red-haired dude not being able to have any power, because when he was a baby, he had no control over his power.
Correct.
And I mean, he barely has control over it now, which is, but so Lance being able to control his power and be able to use it to actually stop a villain who's supposed to be super strong is why the Divine Visionary was like that age gap. Because how are you as a baby still this strong when other babies are like supposed to be no magic at all?
Okay,
That's the only thing.
I agree with that, Deon, but make that more defined. I agree that makes sense, and that's what I kind of thought they were going for, but it doesn't really make much sense when you think about the fact, yeah, Lance is super strong with gravity. He's probably one of the best at it, but it ultimately also tells me you're doing with Lance. Lance, you know Lance is strong. If you did the redhead guy and Margaret, that's more of a power difference than redhead guy to Lance.
Well, see, this is why I'm so irritated that Finn was on the team.
Like,
Because Lance is arguably the best at the school. We say that. Everyone says that when we first meet Lance.
correct.
Now all of a sudden they keep playing him like he's mid-tier. Like, we literally just got out of this whole arc with him being the greatest at the school, the greatest in his class. That means better than Margaret, better than the Dow kid, better than
Yeah.
anybody else we've seen so far. But now that he's with MASH, all of a sudden we're playing him mid-tier like he's a scrub. And we're comparing him to Finn and the redhead kid who are scrubs. But he's literally out of their league. So
Yeah.
he could have been a divine visionary had MASH not been there.
Oh yeah, they've mentioned that.
Which is why is Finn even in any episode after?
Okay. All right. There we go. Yeah, that's fair. Chris, what do you think about this middle section?
I mean, y'all pretty much said it. I was very tag on. Like, I honestly think at this point, Finn is going to be some kind of plot point. That's the only reason you still keep him around at this point.
He's going to be a plot point or something to sacrifice where MASH becomes divine visionary.
I speculate that. Yeah.
Like,
you got to have the weaker guys leave or the stronger guys leave in some type of technicality way because MASH wouldn't become divine visionary any other way.
Yeah.
So now he's going to be the divine visionary because everybody else is weak. Of course they are. You've made him that way.
So the back half of this episode,
see-through plot.
Before I get to the back half of the episode, get up Solo Leveling episode 8, by the way. We'll get into that to him in a minute. The back half of this episode is even weirder because then we get the headmaster and Zero talking again. They kept talking while they're in the air. They haven't even started hitting each other. It's kind of funny. And Inner Zero basically says, I want it, you say I'm your friend, and you say I'm your friend, but you call me friend, but I'm not really your friend. I've changed. And he takes off his hood, and Deon pointed it out right off the bat. They made him look like Voldemort. It's the old Voldemort trick of like the guy has no soul, basically. He's not really human anymore. But then on the flip side, you hear him say, I'm too human. I'm too human. I have too many desires, which absolutely makes no real sense to me, but okay. And then after all of that, he conjures this magic, and he conjures this magic to make this clock, a living time, I think it was called. And then when he makes the clock, all the clock numbers come up in Roman numerals, and the clock starts moving. Then this little coffin with some change around it pops up. Then something else pops up in front of that. Opens up the thing, you see the coffin, and you hear the headmaster say, "Oh, this is forbidden magic. We're in trouble, and this is kind of bad." Then they jump cut back to MASH, back to the dude that MASH fought before. MASH finally figures out that he's fought this dude before because of the black spikes. Then they do the scientific thing, which is, I don't know if it's even possible. Guy starts shooting out spikes like crazy. Shoots a bunch of them. What does MASH do? In one fell swoop, MASH runs across all of them. All of them with no problem. Not even a worry. And the guy's like, how is he? But how is he? Runs down them all, punches the dude right in the face, knocks him down. And MASH goes, "Oh, I remember you now. You're the black spike dude through black spikes." And I know what I have to do now. You've done this before. I remember it. So keep doing it. I'm gonna beat you. And that's how the episode ends. I want to mention these two things. So I didn't mention these two scenes because they're not really bearing on the plot. One scene is where MASH is talking to the dude, and he just doesn't understand what he's saying. He visualizes him as a cream puff. The other scene, that's the big plot point in this, is when you see the head of the Bureau of Security and the kid mention the fact that all three, it is a zero, the headmaster, and one other person, we all used to be friends. That's where we get the friends line later with it is a zero and that whole conversation, but it's not bearing on the plot because it's just it's two instances of nothing. Chris, I'm gonna start with you. What do you think of this back half? Because this back half has no real direction at all.
No, but at least we get a little bit of story. At least just a little bit, tiny bit, a little slither. You know, like okay, y'all started a battle and you saw 3-4 other battles, and then you finally get to the story battle, and then it's like, that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deon, that's how I feel right there. Go ahead and rub your temples too. You know, that's where all my attention get at.
Man,
Deon, what do you think of this back half?
My eyebrows, like, oh man.
What do you think of this back half? And I'm gonna ask this now, and I'll ask Chris for his in a second. I'll ask it on the back. Coming back because I'll give you mine as well. What would you rate Magic and Muscles episode 20? I know. Well, we have to. For the fans, at least.
Oh man. So, what do I think of it? It was cool. It was cool. We at least finally got the show. Like the beginning of this was running like a OVA or something. Like it was running like a filler episode. Like we got these little chibis running around and stuff. Like what's going on, bro? And then this is actually playing out like a MASH episode. Granted, I still don't like MASH episodes, but at least it's playing out like one. One thing that really irritates me, and it has irritated me for 2 episodes now. Bruh, you knew these people was coming before they showed up, and you still just on your way?
Yeah.
That's straight out of Bleach, and you know it.
Bro,
straight about a lot of things.
Bruh. Nah, Bleach at least gotta transverse planes of existence and stuff to get to you. Where are you coming from, bro? It's like on the back of an eagle. Like you ain't walking, you soaring through the skies. You supposed to be the head of security, and you ain't nowhere near where security need to be. Oh, that irritated me so bad. Like you just sitting there having a nonchalant conversation. You know that innocent Zero himself is showing up to kill everybody, and you just, yeah, you know we all used to be buddies, right? Yeah, we're gonna go have ice cream after this. Watch, like what, bro? This show is trash. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna have to push you. What is that rating for this episode?
I'm gonna give it a 3. That's what they ranked last week's episode. That's what I'm 3.
Okay. All right. Chris.
Oh my god.
Nah, buddy, you first. You first, buddy. Nah, you first.
Okay. On the merits of what we saw tonight. 1, you gave us some story. 2, you ultimately made some connections. Not great ones, but some. I'll give him credit for that.
It sounded like a 7 coming out.
But here's the other thing. The baby stuff just kind of didn't make no sense. The baby cane was the one thing that kind of threw me off. Because it's supposed to be comedic. It's supposed to be funny. No way. That was not funny at all. And the thing is, if you really wanted to make this interesting, guess who character we haven't seen in a while? The girl in Mash's friend group. We haven't seen her for a long time. What I would have done, I would have probably switched And it would probably been weird, but it would have probably worked better. Switched redhead dude with her. So they switch places. The girl takes over redhead dude's position, turn her into a baby, and do that whole section with her. And it would probably be more funny and more interesting.
Let me ask you this, B Mac. I'm sorry.
No.
Let me ask you this. Where was Finn?
Still frozen.
So no, the old man pulled Lance up out the bleachers, but left Finn in the stands just because wasn't he right there with?
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
He was.
He was right next to. He was
And
right
the girl,
next to.
and the girl,
Even the
and the
old
girls on the
man
other-
though, like, bro, you gonna be useless. Let me pull Lance about the stands.
Bro,
Just leave you right here in the way, bro.
He was right next to Lance and the red haired dude. They were all
Correct.
sitting together in the stands.
Because the
So he
girls on the
pulled
other,
both of them who were right next to him and said, "No."
because the girls on the
Useless as
opposite
the
side of the
girl with no
stadium,
magic.
yeah, like,
Man.
The girl
So
is on the
ult-
opposite side of the stadium. Yeah.
which is even more funny because I'm like, she's not been in this whole last 3 episodes, which is kind of funny to me, but fine. Ultimately, I have to give this like a 1. It's no better than last week. It's no better than last week. Only because he's clapping. I have failure to clap for that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They're getting back to what they do best, but it's still kind of off. And I'll say this right now. Like I said before, and I'll keep saying it again, it's turn your brain off and enjoy it. Ultimately, it has ended up working in their favor because it's the top 3 of the charts. Ultimately, the characters are interesting. Ultimately, you can bypass the story if you really want to. The story doesn't really matter. But even if you did that, everything else around without the story stuff they added in doesn't make any sense. So what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's fully coolly.
Like, I'm gonna say this right now, and I'm gonna say it with all due respect. I'm guarantee you right now, next week, MASH will be in the top 3 again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'll guarantee it'll probably be at 2.
It's taking the number 1 spot. The worse
Oh,
the
it's not-
episode, the better it'll do.
It's not gonna beat out Danger Tomorrow. If it does, that's
No, I don't even count that anymore.
like,
That spot is forever taken.
yeah.
So
But
my
Chris-
score for this anime,
Go ahead.
really, I wouldn't even give it a score because I didn't want to watch the episode.
Well, fair enough.
Man.
Fair enough.
And if y'all remember what I said last season, the only reason the show will ever get such a score is if I just don't care to watch it.
Uh-huh.
This don't get snapped from me. Shit.
Yeah, that's like okay.
Sure, it ain't even worth a grade because bro, what was this? I could have turned on Teletubbies and that had at least it would have flowed.
At least I would have learned something.
You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You're probably going to say something very easily, and I know what you're going to probably say. We're too critical for this show. We think too much. Yeah, but here's the thing. When the show doesn't do a good job of giving you reasons to answer, they don't give you good questions to answer. This show doesn't give you good question answers when how is he running?
This show really didn't even give you the action that we were wanting.
Correct.
And it's not even being too critical because correct me if I'm wrong, but both of you like the show and have liked episodes up until this point.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, me on the other hand, I don't like it at all. This season sucks. First season was great. This season is horrible.
But I think it goes back to what Chris said. Did they change directors? Did they change the story? Did the story change from what is in the manga or whatever? Are they doing Liberty things to it, or is this just a brand new show entirely? We don't know. We're not gonna ever know that. But then on the flip side, here's the other thing I'm wondering. This is getting so much praise from fans, but yet we're about to watch episode 8 of Solo Leveling, and it's gotten so much. It's got so many dislikes for things it's done. What in the world are y'all thinking? Because that makes no sense to me. And Solo Leveling has a better story. We're gonna get to a story in this episode I love because it's fact of the matter is at least they're giving stuff that makes sense to the story. MASH is supposed to be silly, fun, and just kind of give you that laugh. Like I said last week, the laughs were at a 4. The weirdness is at 11. The weirdness now is like at a 15. It's still kind of weird. It's still not even great weirdness.
I feel like if they were trying to do Harry Potter, they went straight from the first season to like the
Book 7.
one of the it's like
this is Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, this is Sorcerer's Stone level to like we go to the last book of the series.
yeah.
Just jump through. Yeah, we have none of the fillers there. None of the fillers there.
People who like MASH trip old ladies and laugh at fart jokes.
But let's get into Solo Leveling episode 8. Ladies and gentlemen, Solo Leveling episode 8 is kind of interesting because they do a lot of story stuff. And a lot of the story stuff ties back into episode 7 and 6. And here's the funny thing. Yes, the one thing in that comment I didn't mention to y'all earlier about the comment from the other YouTuber I mentioned. A lot of people think he said in his comment for like the little vote thing that he picked the comment from the vote thing they did on the channel. The guy said this show, people say this show is slow. Hold on a second. This show is slow, but it does one thing very well: world building and character building. And you're about to see a lot of that in episode 8. So I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Let's roll.
All right. So in 3, 2, 1, let's go. This is frustrating.
Yes, it is.
Title, as they say.
I got to pay the bills.
It's funny, Chris. Now that I hear that decrescendo in the beginning, it is odd because then it just picks back up with the drum set.
Yes.
But it doesn't. It's like they wanted to have a clear downbeat in the beginning, so I would have thought you just kept the sound the same and then just increase that crescendo, but they did the reverse.
Exactly. Like instead of doing it musically, you just did it just by decreasing the volume on the song and increasing it. Like, yeah.
That's a K-pop.
Yeah, that is K-pop for you.
This is why I don't listen to K-pop.
I mean, I like J-pop and K-pop. I like anime openings normally. I like a couple like just generic K-pop and J-pop songs, but they're usually groups not.
Go check out Stray Kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good group to like get into K-pop with.
Yes, thing I had to want to get into K-pop.
True.
Under one condition. It's just me and you. And he breaks. Jinho breaks like, what? Are you serious?
Now, I had predicted a whole scene based off of this interaction, and it basically led to Brandon saying that he can't confirm or deny that statement.
It's where you see certain characters. So there's and you'll see it in a second. Deon bankruptcy.
Yeah. No. Whatever you thinking, bro, is probably halfway right.
By the way, this scene was added technically. This is not in the original series.
Just
With her
running.
running around the track.
This was added into the anime. It's not in there. It's not in. It is in the original series, but it's not in this placement. It's later down the road. It's later down the road, basically.
Oh, they're trying to bridge gaps early.
Correct. But the thing that happens in this scene, we see later in the anime. We're gonna probably see at the end of the year, at the next episode or the episode after. It's basically this is basically just fan service for fan service purpose. There we go.
Her eyes are very pretty.
Oh yeah, pay attention to this card he hands her. By the way,
Oh,
correct. There we go.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said they bridging gaps early.
Yes, they are. They're bridging gaps a lot earlier than where they know to be. The Hunters Guild, the White Tiger Guild, the Reaper Guild, the Fame Guild, and the Night Guild are the largest 5 guilds.
5 largest. So
5
there
largest guild monopolies.
doesn't mean there aren't other ones.
Nope.
Oh, there are others.
There are others, but they're
Yeah, I mean, they talked about 2 earlier. I'm following y'all. Come on, now. I got you.
play bingo card. 71 strength, 80 agility, 41 vet. Jeez, he's strong. He's strong in strength and agility.
Yeah, he's thinking like a gamer.
But like you said, there's no point. If he goes to the penalty zone, he can't. If you don't kill him, he could die. He could get hurt out there. So it doesn't really matter. Either way it goes, he gets a reward or gets punishment for it.
Still beating people with one arm.
Yep.
That's not what I meant.
So supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's a tie back to something we saw a lot earlier too. I love.
Yeah. I can kind of.
Heck, she had been out too.
The foreshadowing is real.
Dang. So unsupportive. What a drastic that name.
We got two flips off the coin, and also remember she still has PTSD from what happened in that dungeon.
Yeah.
The other thing is she didn't ever get to see our main character again.
Well, she seen him. She just didn't get to talk to him.
Talk to him.
So she know he doing all right. Which is weird. I would have thought he would at least try to, turning my mind off. If that's your little boo thing, I would at least try to hit her up. Like, slide through, check out these apps, cuz.
Cheyenne. There we go. And the funny part, he acts like he doesn't know what that is, but he already knows about it.
And he already knew that she had got scouted.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was ahead of the curve. Do you remember that? Do you remember that, Deon? That June Island?
Jeju Island?
Mm-hmm. He's about to mention it. It's something we've seen already, partially.
Yeah, we've already seen it in the anime.
Yeah. So this is the bug incident, basically.
Yeah, where it's
You know, y'all are giving me clues and stuff to look out for that I probably shouldn't be knowing about.
No, this was the very first episode.
This is the very first episode. They've teased this already. That's what they're saying. Like basically, what they're doing is tie up that loose end. We've seen it. This is the first time they've mentioned what happened.
That's where we first seen him at. He was fighting.
Yeah, that's where we see him the first time around. So he mentions that.
Gotcha.
He lost his team. Friends of his.
Now, if you saw somebody that you thought was probably dead, and they come back and they all built and taller, I would probably automatically assume it was a second awakening. Like, bruh.
Yeah, but I think for Song, he's just happy he's alive.
Yeah.
For the most part, he doesn't really know what had happened.
Well, I'm talking about that's for song. But yeah.
But I get what you're saying. For Janu,
For anybody else. For anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, he knew he was alive. He told him to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like they had chemistry even before, so it's like,
yeah,
like just a relief to see each other again type deal.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Kim can't even look at him. Skip like,
yeah, man.
I can't look at you right now.
I got every right to come over there and yeah.
I wish I could hit. I probably would hit you, but I can't.
Reunited and it feels so good.
You're much taller. Your legs are healed. That's so funny.
That's right. Protect your Buddha.
And he's back.
What do you mean back?
Well, he's back in the. This is the first time we've seen him in a while. That's what I mean. Like he's back in
In a while. When was the first time we seen him?
when Jinnu woke up the first time. After he got hurt in the double dungeon in that dungeon, he was at that when they checked his power. So this is the first
That
time we've
police
seen him.
officer dude?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The purple haired dude. The purple haired dude.
He had the magic stone. Or the meeting thing, whatever. That's right. Steal yourself, girl. Didn't you lead us the last time?
Yep.
Mhm.
Almost got us all killed.
That's what they're about to bring up with Kim in a second.
Yeah.
Because Kim wants to. He asked Jinnu, but Jinnu doesn't really care. Yeah.
Trying to redeem himself. Is he trying to remember who he is?
Correct. He was trying to figure out who he was. He looks different. He thinks it's the
He
kid he
looks
saw. From
way different than the scrawny kid he measured.
All right, let's get into this because this episode actually does a lot of story stuff, and I won't go into it too long because a lot of it ties back to other things, does other things, so it's not super in depth. But I love the fact that they do a good job of building this world even more. And we didn't have to see a fight in this. We didn't see a fight at all, technically, but they kept you.
Solo leveling is nothing but action.
And that's where this episode kind of debunks that a lot. So we're gonna start this off. Basically, we see that Jinnu heads back to the cafe, talks to Jinho. He says he agrees with Jinho. He'll do the 19 raids on one condition. That one condition, just me and you go into these raids by ourselves. And Jinho says, "Wait, but we need 8 people in the party to legally do this." He's like, "Fine, we can get 8 people. We'll figure out all the money and stuff." Then after that, the next thing we see is the S rank Lady Hunter. She's running around track. This scene was added into the anime, technically. And she's running around track, working out, training. And she knows she's being watched, but she can't tell from what. So she sits down, drinking some water and stuff. She finally says, "Who's there?" Guy walks up out from out the shadows. He says, "Oh, you're the S rank Hunter. Why are you here?" He goes, "I have something for you." Hands her the card of her Jin Ho's dad's construction site, making that guild now. Then we get the long conversation with Jin Ho's dad and him, basically explaining what's the world about, the media, all the political stuff, everything. The big thing out of this conversation is one line where he mentions, all the top 5 guilds: the White Tiger Guild, the Flame Guild, the you have the basically the guilds that are being the monopolized guilds. These are the big guilds, but there are other smaller guilds as well. So having them get into the guild game, they need to come out swinging with the best people and everything. And then the last thing they really talk about before we get to like this middle half is that we see before we get to the middle half, the one thing he says the Jinho says, I need to do this for my brother. My brother was strong, but I need to find strong people myself. So I'm gonna start with Chris. Chris, what do you think about this beginning section? Like this first 6 minutes or so, where we kind of get a lot of like dialogue, but build into other things.
So I really am enjoying how they are breaking down everything. Like, oh my God, we should have watched this first when I could actually think clearer. I had to dumb it down my brain so much. But it was like coming into so coming into a fresh story where he's learning about the business deal and everything, and then they kind of get a little glimpse of the just how many different connections this construction company is trying to make. But the thing that I'm kind of looking at is like, okay, so where, like, don't answer this, but okay, so where is this one guy's part in this company looks to be getting bigger and bigger? Like, where is his footnote in? So that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Deon, what do you think about this first half?
Just the first half, right? Okay.
Yeah, this first like 6 minutes or so, a little bit more.
It's. I mean, I always have said, except for the first 2 episodes, Solo Leveling does a good job building their story, and it's just showing more of that, where it's like, all right, we're not gonna hit you over the head with a bunch of plot, but pay attention to what we are doing because it's there.
Yeah. So then we see Jinnu doing his normal run thing. He checks his daily quest. He's like, can I go higher? Can I do the higher thing? That daily secret quest was a one-time thing. We do figure that out. They do mention it's a one-time thing. It's not something you can do multiple times, so you can't do over 200. You could do the over 200 thing, but you're only going to get the one-time reward for it. But he had the other box, so he opens the other box. Maybe he gets a dungeon key or something. He opens it. It's a bingo card. So it's not going to always be good. It's not going to be good or great. It's not going to be bad. It could be kind of something not worth something. So for him, it's not always that thing of like trying to find something, try to get something good out of it to where he can do more instant dungeons and stuff. Then we kind of see he's been walking. He walks around a bit, kind of thinks about, do I actually go into the penalty zone to maybe get stronger, fight the monsters there? But he's also like, if I do that, I could also get hurt very badly, so I shouldn't do that really. Then we cut to Mr. Song. Mr. Song is fighting this S rank hunter, giving him some training, and the S rank hunter's like, man, I wish I could have fought you when you're full strength. And he's like, I'm surprised you haven't retired yet, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, man, like myself, I should have retired, but I didn't because I still have things to give, and even though I'm old, I still have a lot to learn, teach. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. And he's like, no, I agree. I have a lot to think about as somebody my age. And doing a lower ranked, he gets a phone call about the lower ranked dungeon that opened up. Then we see Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim's hanging out with his family and talking about the fact, like, the wife's like, I don't really want you to go back into doing hunting raids. You could do something else. And he's like, you know what? Our oldest daughter is about to go to middle school, or the youngest girl's about to start pre-K. I have a reason to continue on because we need to do this for family purposes. We need to do it for the money and things, and I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's building up to the fact that he has to continue, and she's like, I support that. Do what you have to do. Then the last thing I'm really talking about is this conversation between the head of one of the guilds and the guy we've seen before, one of the top hunters, kind of talking about what happened and talking about the construction guy building their own guild, but also that's the information that he is on the table. But also he says, he's like, "Why'd you call me here then? What's really going on?" We don't get that yet, but we got to see that he's kind of wondering why he actually called him. So I'm going to start off with Deon for this. Deon, what do you think about this middle section?
Man, can I punch Mr. Kim in the face? Like just one good time and then we cool, bruh. Like one good time for what you did, but then we cool because I understand why you did it now. You know what I'm saying? You trying to get back to your family. As a family man myself, they just made everybody we about to try to. Am I saying too much? Yeah. No, but they made them relatable again.
If you were Genu and you said that you had to hit this dude in the face, he probably wouldn't live that through that hit.
I mean, if I was Jin Woo and I hit him in the face, it'd more be like a little flick, like little, you know what I'm saying? Like you with a kid, just one of them little thumps. Like
yeah.
do better. You know.
Chris,
yeah, I like how they trying to make everybody relatable now.
Correct. Chris, what do you think about this middle section right here?
So this middle section is, pretty much it. It kind of puts everybody into perspective. This is still daily life. This is how life is in this city with dungeons just popping up everywhere. Now I am curious. Now, do they pop up over the ocean? Do they pop up in other cities, states? I mean, just curiosity. So hopefully I do get those questions answered at some point.
Yeah.
So you have already.
You partially have. You partially got the answer
from
that
the guy. There's some in America.
Yeah, so the guy
right now.
Yeah, the guy that's in America. That's the only ones we know of.
Right.
So I'm gonna run through this little back half because this actually is really interesting. So basically, we see Jin Hee basically talk to her mom on the phone. The mom's like, should you really be doing hunting? Should you really be doing this? And she kind of just throws her mom under the bus. She's like, don't control my life. Don't, I still what I do. And she gets the call about the dungeon. Then we see the S rank hunter and the guy that was talking past each other. They bow. She's kind of like, why was he here? She goes talk to him, the head of the guild guy. He tells him that I got that card from them. They're building that guild. He already knows all this. He's like, thank you for telling me. And then she asks why the president was here. He doesn't tell her why. We see him drinking at a bar. We find out from the other half of the conversation later that they talk about what happened on the island. The island we've seen in the first episode. The island with all the bugs, where his two friends died. So that's been a plot point. Now that's a point now about that and proving the fact that we might see the island again eventually. We don't know. Down the road. And he kind of thinks back to his friend and why he's thinking about his friends, why they passed. We see this weird scene that somebody's talking to somebody. We don't know why they're talking to each other. They need to die. That's what they talk about there. Small, quick scene. And then we get Jinu about to go out again, about to go do his raid. The sister comes out saying, this is his day off. Why are you going to work? And I can make a living now. She's like, you've gotten stronger. It's paying off. And she's like, wait, you didn't take any of your stuff. But you didn't take anything. Okay. And then we see Mr. Song start walking that way as well. They come to next to each other, kind of have a talk, and they go, I'm glad to see you're doing well, Jinu. What, I see you're getting better. You look different. He doesn't mention anything about the look. He kind of just says, everything's gone better and everything. And he finally, they kind of touch shoulders, and he touches his shoulder, and they kind of walk past. But then Jinu follows him, and then they get to where the dungeon opened up, and they kind of talk for a bit. Jin Hee sees Jinu for the first time, and she's like, "You're taller, and your legs healed, and I went to go visit you at the." Gets cut off because we see the car pull up. The car pulls up with all the criminals. They're gonna help out with the raid. Everybody's kind of on edge. They don't think the raid's really a thing. Doesn't need to be a thing. They don't need the criminals for the raid, but they're under the tutelage of the purple-haired guy who's a part of the association. So he's gonna take over on that raid. he's gonna control them. If anything goes down, he can take them out. So they had nothing to worry about. Then the big thing from this, outside of that, we have all the main players from the original dungeon, that first dungeon. These are the 5 survivors. The big thing from this also is that Song takes over the purple hair guy asks who wants to take over the raid. Song asks Jinnu if is it okay if he takes it. He said go ahead. And then Song asks Kim, and Kim says go ahead, kind of in a snarky voice, doesn't really care, but he's like, fine, do it. And then ultimately you hear them say, let's get ready to do this. And they go walk in the dungeon. Before that, though, the purple head guy stares at our main character, Jinnu, and wonders, who is that guy? Kind of doesn't think nothing of it, leaves it alone. And then that's how the episode ends, as they're walking into the dungeon. So 2 things. I'm going to ask for both of these right off the bat. One, so I'm going to start with Deon for this. Or I'll start with Chris for this. Chris, what do you think about this back half of this episode? And 2, what would you rate Solo Leveling episode 8?
So this back half was really kind of like, I feel like they're kind of showing a piece of the web, a little bit of the spider web that they're trying to weave on the story. Like everything's starting to come into a certain perspective. Like I'm not gonna like even my little prediction looks more and more plausible. Even watch this in a second time. So I have my own little theories and things that I'm just kind of waiting to see if I get proven right or wrong. But I do like what I'm seeing. So therefore, actually giving a good anime a good score, I'm giving this episode at 8.3.
Okay. All right. Deon, what do you think about this back half? And what would you give Solo Leveling episode 8?
Let me see. I'm trying not to take up too much time. I do have a question though.
Okay.
Song, he says he can't use his sword skills in the dungeon. He's a magic user now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's battling a S rank with one arm, and the dude can't touch him. But Jinwoo is using a knife with no magic abilities.
Mm.
I'm just trying to understand why Sung in the S rank hunter right now. Like he could have been a beast, but that's
I think the big answer for that question, they don't really give you the answer, but it's kind of implied when he says I can only use magic. It's what you're born with. So it ties back into the beginning where you see Jinhee the dad tell Jinhee, or not Jinhee, Jinho, that the association tests your power. So basically, they're testing the power of the person to see what they're good at.
Yeah, but I mean, just him itself. He's like, my sword skills are useless in the dungeon. They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. But you're also fighting magical beasts.
Ranked as a D, E, F. He's strong. He battling the S rank. He should have them skills to just mash whatever. Put the right sword in it, and he should be a beast. So I think that's a plot. That's something they missing. They ain't do better with that. Another thing they missing is Jinhee when he leaves with nothing and goes into these dungeons with nothing and just start materializing weapons out of nowhere. Ain't nobody looking at that sideways, like bro. Like we see his sister just be like, "Hey man, why you leaving with nothing? You ain't just running to the store. Like you finna go to a dungeon." Like I feel like he should have a backpack with some snacks or something.
But that's gonna be a plot point.
Yeah.
They did point that out, and that's gonna be a plot point for later. I think that's the next episode. We're gonna see that coming.
I just want to bring it to attention.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But my biggest takeaway from this is I waited 2 weeks for that. Like, bro.
All right, fair enough.
Bro, give me this episode, then take your break. Give me this episode where you set everything up, then take your break and come back and hit me hard. I feel like there's a missed opportunity right there. Overall, the episode is good. I give it a 8. You know, I give it an 8 because it's every everything fits together. You can't speak about one thing in the beginning of the episode too much because you'll talk about something that happened at the end of the episode, and they all like tie in together. So they do a pretty good job setting up their stories, but they should have set this up then took their break. We'd have been all right.
So I'm gonna end this off for the night. This is tough because I think they do a good job with storytelling. And we're gonna go back to something I said before. The rating, the people thinking it's just action, that episode kind of debunks that perfectly and beautifully. This gets a 9 from me. This gets a 9, like a 9.3. And I think it does it well enough to where if you don't understand what's going on, now you do, because I gave you everything. Episode 9 is going to be interesting. Do I agree with Deon? It probably should have been done before their break. Yeah, but you also had the weird thing where Magic and Muscles would have been this week, and then we would have had a break, and then we had the Magic.
They ain't had no episode anyway.
Yeah, so it's like I rather good thing we had both.
Suck, bro.
We had both, so it didn't really hurt anything. But I think this show is on a good path. I think the show is amazing. I think if you really want to find a good show that has a good story, this is one that you should watch, hands down. I don't think it's super slow, but I think it's slow enough to where they're still doing world building, and the world building makes sense. They're not trying to overthrow you with a bunch of extra information right away. They've done a couple action things in the beginning. This is the first one where it's a bunch of information and story stuff, but the information and story stuff will end up helping us later down the road when we're just going to do a lot of action. So you're not beating up the head with a bunch of story. But that was episode 46 of the Anime Dojo. Ladies and gentlemen, be back for next week when we do episode 21 of Magic and Muscles. We only have 4 episodes left of that. And episode 9 of Soul Leveling. We're going to see where this right ends. We're in the back third. We're in the back third of this now. We'll see how the winter season ends. It's going to be kind of interesting. But ultimately, you should look forward to it. I think we're more interested in Soul Leveling stuff than Magic and Muscle stuff. But I think both are going to have interesting things to close out their seasons. I will have this up on the podcast on Spotify right when it'll post automatically, and then I'll put it up on on YouTube on Thursday. So you'll have that. It's gonna be a pretty beefy episode. It's about 3 hours, right? So we're gonna have a long one for y'all to listen to because we did a lot of talking of other stuff for cultural things, but we like doing that, so not a bad thing at all. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy, and hope you for next time. See you
Later.
Peace.